Continuing our series on helping our children deal with bullying from ChristianityCove.com, cheat sheets for parents. We are on mini challenge number 3. Tell your children not to fear bullies. Now, this might sound contradictory to what we talked about last time when we said that we shouldn't teach our children to think that God will protect them every time from being hurt by bullies, because bullies do hurt, and bullies do inflict pain, and bullies do bully. And it might sound contradictory, but the fact of the matter is, one of the reasons bullies bully is because they enjoy the feelings of power that they draw from the fear of their victims. And when bullies sense fear, they are more likely to attack or become aggressive. And when a potential victim becomes a difficult target, bullies tend to back off. Now, it's up to you, the parent, to decide if you want to teach your children to confront bullies or to ignore them. Christians do both. Paul Coughlin, author of No More Christian Nice Guy and Raising Bully-Proof Kids, makes no bones that he prepares his kids to confront any bully who gives them a hard time. And he uses the life of Jesus to illuminate many confrontational techniques. Now, that doesn't mean that he or we are teaching our kids to meet violence with violence, but it does mean that we can teach our kids to stand up for themselves and to stand up for others. It does mean that we can teach our kids to be courageous and to confront, or to stand firm and not to back down. Teaching courage does not contradict the belief that bullies are dangerous. In fact, it's more dangerous not to teach courage. I remember when I was a kid, I was a nerd, and I had to deal with my share of bullies, especially in middle school, maybe the early part of high school. And I still remember some of those bullies, what they looked like, what their first names were. There was Gary, there was Mike, there was Kurt, there was Gus. Gus lived on our street. But I remember some of the times with some of these guys, when they started to get aggressive with me, I would say something like, "Has anybody told you today that Jesus loves you?" And of course, they had never encountered anything like that before, and they thought I was nuts and didn't really want to deal with me, because in spite of the fact that I was a nerd, they didn't want to deal with a crazy nerd. And so they backed off. But that was okay with me. Think I'm crazy and don't mess with me, and I'm all right with that. But sometimes they did get aggressive because I was acquiescent, and I didn't always say that. I do remember Gus lived on our street, and Gus was getting very aggressive, and not only with threats, but physically. And so my father took me to a friend of his who taught Kung Fu, and he gave me one free Kung Fu lesson that was to provide me with some defensive techniques in case I was attacked. Well, sure enough, the time came when Gus did indeed attack me, and I was able to use those defensive techniques to protect myself and throw him off balance, and he landed on the ground. And then I didn't know what to do after that. So I was kind of paralyzed trying to figure out what to do next. And he jumped on me and knocked me to the ground. And my sister, who was a year and a half younger than me, jumped on his back. And meanwhile, he'd already pummeled me so that I was bleeding from my mouth. And I ran into the house and got my father, and my father came out. And to prevent this long story from going any longer, I'll just say that was the last day that Gus ever bothered me or my sister. And part of that reason is because when the victims of bullies start to show confidence and courage and stand up, then they don't give the bully the power that they're looking for and the fear that's otherwise provided. And they begin to back off. So we can encourage our children not to fear bullies, stand up to them confrontationally with courage, with trust in God that whether we get hurt or not, that something will come out of it in a way that will be good for us and glorifying to him.